Hi guys, and welcome to this video number 5, our 5th lesson so far in the Jazz Academy. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm certainly enjoying putting these lessons together, and by the response and the conversations we've been having on the Zoom sessions, it seems that you all are, which is great for me to hear. I'm really glad that I feel like I'm helping you. This one is a massive one, and we'll be doing lots and lots, revisiting this lots and lots over different tunes. This was one of the first things that I was taught by one of my first jazz improvisation lessons, just getting around the 2-5-1s, because it's such a massive part of jazz. If you think of all the tunes, if you think of what is a jazz standard, like think of the American songbook, think of all the Charlie Parker type tunes, which normally are bebop tunes over the chords from the American songbook or previous jazz standards. They are full of 2-5-1s. Now, Autumn Leaves has a major 2-5-1 and it has a minor 2-5-1, but there are many tunes where there are lots of different key centers, so it's really important that we can navigate a 2-5-1. It's not the be all and end all, but if we practice this, we know where they are, and we've developed the ability to play in many different keys, we are going to find that our ear and fingers work much better together. After all, what I've said, we're trying to develop your melodic solos and trying to develop that ability to, for one, hear things to play in our head, and two, be able to execute what we can play in our head. And practicing different phrases over 2-5-1s is a means to an end. Now, as I've said before, this certainly shouldn't be a copy and paste exercise. You shouldn't be learning as many licks as you can just to simply regurgitate. Okay, there are many players that do that, but for me, I feel I'm not improvising. But if we take, a great lick by Chet Baker, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, whoever your favourite player is, and really, especially if we listen to it by a record, if we can really get to hear it, work it out on our instruments, which we're going to get to these lessons transcribing. Okay, but that is where the great value is. Okay, by listening, really working it out, listening to their articulation, listening to their attack, listening to the way they phrase, etc. That is like a masterclass in itself. Okay, but some of us maybe aren't quite at that standard yet. So I've taken some 2-5-1s. I've taken 10 2-5-1s in major keys and minor keys, very simple ones that I've created myself. They're all pretty much diatonic. There's not much chromaticism in it, so very within the scale, within the key center. And I've also taken some short 2-5-1s. We won't be covering that today, but you'll see, if you go through the book, you'll see what I mean by short 2-5-1. So normally a 2-5-1 would be a bar of the 2 chord, a bar of the 5 chord, and then a bar of the 1 chord. But the short 2-5s is normally when you get the turnaround. So in the key of G, if I'm playing in the key of G, the short 2-5-1s normally for the last for bars 7 and 8 of a phrase, you might get B-7 to E7, A-7 to D7. So, and that would be the short 2-5-1 again, which is very popular within jazz standards. Okay, but for our purposes today, we are looking at Autumn Leaves. Okay, so the first 4 bars, well, the first 3 bars are a 2-5-1 in a major key, and the second line, the bars 5, 6, 7, 8, are a 2-5-1 in the minor key. So what I've done is, like I say, created this book, and we're going to work through some of those phrases, through some of those licks, really get it under our fingers and work it into Autumn Leaves. Okay, and we're going to do it step-by-step process. So activity 1, play through each 2-5-1. Make sure you are very fluent and you are playing them in a swinging style. Okay, here we go. Major lick number 1. I'll play it again. minor lick number 2. Play it again. And here is major lick number 2. Play it again. And they are the 4 licks that I'm using in this lesson. Okay, and so we're going to move now on to activity 2, which is only playing the major 2-5-1. So you can, now that you've got this under your fingers, hopefully, you don't need to read the music. That is definitely a big one for this. Don't even attempt this until you can play whatever 2-5-1. These are suggested 2-5-1s, okay? If the one I'm using is too tricky, maybe use something that's a bit easier. Maybe I'm sure by doing the lessons now, you have the ability to try and create your own 2-5-1, or unless you can find some even easier 2-5-1s. But I think these are pretty good intermediate standard, which is one of the requirements really of the course. So of course you can listen to the etude, and if it's too difficult to read, listen to how I play it and try and copy me. Okay, so activity 2, I'm going to put on the backing track, and all I'm going to do is just play that major 2-5-1 wherever it occurs. This really helps develop the ability to know where you are in a chord sequence when soloing, so you don't get lost, okay, because you're hopefully internalize the changes. I'm hoping as well by now that we're on week 5, especially for the people that started at the beginning with us, but even if you're not, if you've been doing this for a couple of weeks and been working at it every day, you should start to be feeling a lot more familiar with Autumn Leaves if you are doing all the exercises on Autumn Leaves and starting to hear more, feel more comfortable, know what chord is coming up, will know what key center is coming up. Okay, so here I go, only playing the major 2-5-1 over Autumn Leaves. Okay, so here we go with activity number 3, playing only one at a time, just the minor 2-5-1 over the changes to Autumn Leaves. So have a listen to how I do it, because I am only playing that minor 2-5-1 as it comes up in the form, as it comes up in the structure of the backing track. Okay, so again, you need to really have it under your fingers, really need to know it. Okay, don't be reading the music when you're doing this. You want to have this completely internalized. That is one thing you definitely need. Okay, if at the minute you need to be reading the lead sheet when you're practicing that, that's fine. That's fine for now. Okay, but gradually you'll be able to do without the lead sheet as you get to know the tune more and more. You'll just find that you just stop looking at it anyway as much. Okay, so You could try and test yourself now and again too, just to see, do I need that lead sheet? Do I know when that minor 251 is coming? Okay, so here I go. Have a listen to me playing that minor 251. Same thing again, if you want to use your own 251, feel free. Okay, but the book has 10 pretty simple ones to use. So if you'd rather use a different one from the book than I've used, okay, like I said, feel free to do that. Okay, here we go. Activity number 3. Okay, so activity number 4 now. You should be very fluent with the major 251 that you've internalized and learnt, and you should also be really fluent with the minor 251. Okay, so without reading those two 251s, you can now going to try and use both of them over the backing track. Okay, like I said before, feel free to use the lead sheet to tell you which 251 you're playing over, and then gradually, like I said in the last section, try to lose that video. Okay, sorry, try to lose that lead sheet. Okay, so here I go now. Activity number 4, playing both the major and the minor 251 along with the backing track. Here we go. Okay, so hopefully you have done well with that. You've managed to get through that tune, playing both of the major and the minor 251s. If not, if whatever you're struggling with, you need to problem solve that and think, right, it's going to be down to two things. Either you're getting lost with the form, or you don't know the phrases well enough, the major and the minor 251s. So you've just got to really, really practice those, okay, until they are completely internalized, okay, because then if they're internalized, that is what you're going to start to hear. That is what your fingers will automatically gravitate towards, okay, and that's how we start to build our vocabulary. We're just starting with very small pre-learned sentences, if you like, and the more and more we learn and expand, okay, they just eventually meld into each other, okay? And, you know, it's impossible unless you have a photographic memory. I do know a sax player who has a photographic memory. He's one of the best players in the world, actually. And he, when he improvises, he has thousands and thousands of 2-5-1s and whatever else he's practiced at his disposal, okay? But what we want to be doing is developing the ability in us to hear things to play, okay? It's like as I'm talking to you now, I've not got nothing written down. I'm just using vocabulary and I am improvising, okay? And hopefully it makes sense to you, okay? And it's the same way with the music. We don't want to be thinking, oh, I'm going to use this G7 thing here, I'm going to use this minor 2-5-1 here, or I'm going to use this cool lick here. We want to just be thinking, right, you don't want to be thinking anything. You just want to be listening, and what do I want to play? How do I want to sound? That's what should be coming out, okay? So activity 5 is more of activity 2, 3 and 4. So you can learn as many of these phrases as you feel you're able to, okay? The more phrases you learn and practice like this, the more your vocabulary will increase, okay? Now I realize at the minute we are only in one key center, the major and the minor, but there are many tunes that move through lots of different key centers, and the next scheme of work, if you like, we will be moving on to it's a choice of 2 tunes at the minute, but they both move through different key centers, okay, and have lots of 2-5-1s. That's all they have in the tune, okay, just different 2-5-1s. So it's a great way of taking what we've already learned here and then taking it another step further, which is, so like I said with the Clark Terry, in fact, activity 5, let me just quickly read that out. As you progress, add more and more 2-5-1s to your vocabulary. The more you have and internalize, the better chance you will have of hearing cool things to play. This is a great way to develop your jazz vocabulary. Start to mix up all the phrases. Remember, you could also use 2-5-1 phrases from your own favorite players too. As I've said this many times, we don't want to simply copy and paste other players' phrases all the time, but as Clark Terry said, imitate, assimilate and innovate. So at the minute we are just doing lots of imitating. That's how we start, which is a great way to do it, okay? And then when we move on to a tune that has maybe 2 or 3, 4, 5 key centers, we will be assimilating, because you want to be then learning the phrases you've already learned in another key, and you want to try and do it, I would suggest, without reading them in that key. I know they are in all the keys in the book, but if you can mentally try or orally using your ear try and work them out, if you've really learnt them so well in one key, it is much easier to try and learn them in other keys once you know them really, really well, because you hear the intervals so much better. Okay, so activity 5, what you should be doing now is taking any of those phrases, okay, or any of your favorite players' phrases, and inserting those phrases. So say if you've got a cool Chet Baker 2-5 major 1 lick, use that lick, okay? You don't have to use mine. And if you have a cool Charlie Parker minor 2-5-1 minor lick, use that if that's what you have and you want to get better at that, okay? This is a really good way to develop your own style. But you know, if say Clark Terry is your favorite player, use Clark Terry phrases if you can find some, okay? The internet is full of loads and loads of fantastic transcriptions, free to download, okay? If your favorite player is JJ Johnson, if you're trombone, you know, find some JJ licks. But in the meantime, if you're more happy doing what I'm suggesting, use the licks that I am doing. But it almost doesn't matter as long as you're using some jazz phrases. That's the way to develop the jazz vocabulary, and also the way to develop what you hear. So activity 5, I've used 2 more 2-5 licks, one in major, one in minor. Let's just move now on to that activity where we have learnt, pretend we've learnt both of those 2 new licks. And so what we're going to do now is using 4 2/5 licks, 2 major, 2 minor, we are going to randomly use those, and that's what I've done for the very last etude. Okay, so so you can see the more phrases that you've built up, you know, if you've used 5, if you can learn 5 really well and internalize them, 5 major, 5 minor, you have too many then really for the tune of Autumn Leaves. Okay, or just the right amount. I don't know, I haven't counted, but you're going to find you're not going to be repeating yourself at all. Okay, and so you don't actually have to learn a huge amount of these to get through a tune really well. You know, I've read somewhere that said if you can learn 10 major 2/5 10 minor 2/5, 10 major 7 licks, some dominant 7 licks, you know, you're well on the way to creating a half decent solo. Okay, but then a case, of course, that is just copy and pasting licks, which is the first step. Okay, we can't start running, and you know, you have to learn the grammar, the basics, before you can start expanding and creating. Okay, in anything, in any discipline, you know, you can't just start. You couldn't just walk into a kitchen and create a beautiful food if you've never had any cooking experience. You know, I couldn't suddenly start doing some cool tap dancing because I don't know how to tap dance. If I'd spent a few years learning to tap dance, I could then make up my own tap dancing, you know, or poetry or anything, you know, like I say. So, and it's the same with jazz. Just because we've been playing a musical instrument for 30 years, okay, it literally is like going back to the beginning if we are new to improvising. Okay, so this is a great way, like I've said all the way through this lesson, of really developing the ability to hear what you're playing and go and, you know, hitch your wagon to whoever your favourite player is. So, like I've said, whoever your favourite player is. I've actually done a video on this as well on YouTube, all about Chet Baker. So if you've had that, if you have bought that 65 Jazz Etudes bundle, it will be in there. And it's just full of 10 major Chet Baker licks, 10 minor Chet Baker licks. And I actually use Autumn Leaves as that tune as an example, where you just build up the vocabulary of Chet, you know. But like I said, it doesn't have to be Chet. It can be any player you want. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. You should really feel the benefit of this once you, especially along with everything else we've played, everything else we've learned over this scheme. You know, in a very short time, in 5 weeks, we've put together quite a good package. Now, don't be getting frustrated if, you know, this takes time. This does take time, okay? And it will not come overnight. It might not come in a month. It might not come in 6 months. I'm still practicing jazz after 30 years. I still practice trying to get better at jazz every day, okay? After 30 years of doing it. That's the nature of what we're doing, okay? So small steps, targeted, laser focused practice, okay? And I'll see you in the next video, okay? Thanks for watching. Bye for now.